Eagles fans, what on earth just happened? Philadelphia walked out of week 1 with a win, but let's be real, it didn't feel like a win. We saw ugly quarterback play, our star wideouts were silent, and the only reason we're celebrating today is because of lucky breaks and a defense that survived chaos. But then came the explosion. Jalen Carter, our young star, caught up in a scandal now being called Spitgate. Was he baited by Dak Prescott? Did the Cowboys set him up? And most importantly, what does this mean for the future of our season? This opener wasn't just football. It was pure madness. And the story is only getting bigger. Philadelphia might be 1-0, but that first game left everyone with questions. The offense looked lost, Jalen Hurts was shaky, Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown were ghosts, and mistakes piled up everywhere. The Birds weren't dominant, they were lucky. Drops, delays, and drama kept the game alive long enough for Philly to sneak out with the win. But the real headline came before the defense even had a chance to settle in. Jalen Carter, one of the Eagles' brightest stars, was ejected for spitting in Dak Prescott's direction. It was a jaw-dropping, embarrassing moment on national TV. The defensive line never looked the same without him, and the Cowboys took full advantage, pounding the ball harder than expected. Now here's the twist. Carter insists it was a mistake. He stood in front of cameras and said the right things. He let his teammates down, he let the fans down, and it won't happen again. But not everyone is convinced this was just a heat-of-the-moment accident. Because when you watch the tape closely, Dak Prescott looks like he was instigating, stepping in, baiting Carter, and pushing him toward a reaction. Prescott claims it was all just a misunderstanding, that he spits thousands of times during a game. But come on, you saw the clip. He looked right at Carter. He knew what he was doing. The truth? Carter took the bait, and it cost the Eagles dearly. The story didn't end with Carter's ejection, it only got messier. After the game, Dak Prescott admitted he saw the flag and thought Dallas was about to get 15 free yards. What he didn't realize was that Carter was being tossed before he ever played a snap. Prescott even said he didn't want Carter out of the game, calling him a hell of a player and admitting Philly had built their blocking scheme around stopping him. That one moment completely flipped the script. Now, here's the real question. Will the NFL suspend Jalen Carter? Philadelphia heads into Kansas City this week, and they need him on the field. Both Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni backed their young star after the game. Hurts called it a mistake to learn from, and Sirianni made it clear, we need that guy on the field. He's too good not to be out there. The league has officially launched its review, but history is on Carter's side. Similar spit-related incidents in the past, like Bill Romanofsky in '97 or D'Angelo Hall in '06, ended in fines, not suspensions. Plus, Carter already missed essentially a full game by being ejected on the first drive. Most insiders believe he'll face a fine and maybe some team discipline, but no suspension. Still, the damage is done. Philly was forced to survive without its most disruptive lineman, and Carter now carries the weight of proving this mistake won't define him. The Chiefs are waiting, and the Birds need him at his best. What do you think? Should the NFL let the ejection be enough punishment, or does Carter deserve more? When the dust settled from all the chaos, one man stood tall for Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts. It wasn't about gaudy stats or highlight throws. It was about control, poise, and timing. Hurts marched the offense down the field on the opening drives, mixing precision passes with gutsy scrambles. What stood out wasn't just the yards he gained with his legs, but when he chose to run. He kept his eyes downfield, forced Dallas to respect the pass, then punished them the second they overcommitted. It was vintage Hurts, calm under fire, explosive when the moment demanded it. Even Nick Sirianni admitted it. The stat sheet won't tell the story. He played efficient, he played smart, and he flat out won us that game. The connection with Jahan Dotson was a huge spark. A 50-yard strike, a thing of beauty, showcased just how dangerous this offense can be if Dotson builds on the buzz from training camp. That play wasn't luck. It was chemistry. It was a quarterback trusting a young wideout to go make a play, and Dotson answered. But let's not sugarcoat it. The offense still has a problem. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith were invisible. Against a Dallas secondary that's been mocked all offseason, Brown wasn't even targeted until the final minute of the game. Smith managed only 16 yards. That's not game planning, that's negligence. Brown isn't just another weapon. He's the identity of this passing attack. If Kevin Patullo, the Eagles' new offensive coordinator, can't scheme ways to get him involved, then Philadelphia is wasting its best asset. Hurts may have saved the night, but this offense won't reach its full potential until their stars shine again. The Birds are 1-0, but the A.J. Brown question looms large. Do you think Philly's offense can keep winning without feeding A.J. Brown, or is this a warning sign of bigger problems ahead? For nearly 4 quarters, it felt like A.J. Brown wasn't even on the field. One of the best wideouts in football, a game changer, a tone setter, stood on the sidelines watching as the offense sputtered without him. And then, in the final moments, finally, the ball found his hands. And just like that, A.J. reminded everyone why he's the guy you can never ignore. One clutch catch, one game-sealing play, and the Eagles stole it back. That's what elite players do. They show up when everything is on the line. Now, let's give credit where it's due. Dallas defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus had a masterful plan. The Cowboys disguised coverages, matched routes beautifully, and forced Jalen Hurts to look elsewhere all night long. This wasn't just Hurts ignoring his weapons. This was Dallas making life miserable for Brown and Devonta Smith. And they did it well. But here's the truth. The Eagles stars can't stay quiet forever. Philly fans know this team has preached contribution over credit all offseason. That sounds nice, but when you've got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, you don't win games by keeping them invisible. Nick Sirianni knows it. Jalen Hurts knows it. And make no mistake, if this offense wants to dominate the way it should, Brown has to be a central piece every single week. And while all eyes were on the receivers, Saquon Barkley was out there fighting for every inch. On paper, 18 carries, 60 yards. Nothing flashy. But when you actually watched him, Barkley's impact was undeniable. Slipping through cracks that weren't really there, turning broken plays into positives, and catching passes when nothing else was working. He was the steady heartbeat of an offense that often looked stuck in mud. But let's be honest, the offensive line let him down. Lane Dickerson's injury hurt. Pass protection was shaky. Run blocking was worse. At times it felt like Barkley was running into a wall and Hurts was running for his life. A C-plus grade at best. And yet, even behind that line, Barkley refused to disappear. That's what makes him special. The bottom line? This wasn't a clean win. A.J. Brown went missing, the O-line struggled, and Saquon had to work twice as hard to get half as far. And still, Philadelphia came out on top. That's the sign of a team with grit. That's the sign of a contender. Question for you, if A.J. Brown stays quiet again next week, do the Eagles have enough firepower to keep winning? Or is it already a warning sign for trouble ahead? Drop your thoughts below. Adoree Jackson gave himself a C grade. A 6 out of 10. Let's be honest, Eagles fans, that was generous. What we saw on the field looked closer to an F. Early in the game, Dallas went right at him. Completions of 32, 26, 23 yards, and the pass interference on CeeDee Lamb was brutal. At one point, it even looked like he got benched for rookie Yokorian Bennett. And the worst play of all? That half-hearted attempt to stop Miles Sanders on a run. No fight, no energy, just bad football. If not for Zach Bond hustling to save the play, that could have been the backbreaker. We all knew cornerback 2 was going to be a weak spot heading into the season. But this was painful to watch. Now, to be fair, Adderey was facing one of the toughest receiver duos in football, Lamb and Pickens. So maybe this was rock bottom. Maybe. The question now is simple. Do you stick with Adderey Jackson and hope he bounces back, or do you give Bennett a real shot? Let me know who you'd start. But here's the silver lining. The Eagles rookies came to play. Jahad Campbell? A monster. He had a ridiculous pass breakup on a seam route and teamed up with Byron Young to force a game-saving fumble in the red zone. And Drew Makuba? Everywhere. Flying up to set the edge, closing gaps, helping on coverage. These two rookies looked like they'd been in the league for years. Campbell and Makuba, get used to hearing that combo, because it might define this defense for the next decade. And how about Quinion Mitchell? The second-year corner looked like a shutdown star. Yeah, he got lucky on a few drops. But the numbers don't lie. 4 catches allowed on 9 targets. Just 30 yards. He locked down George Pickens early, then slid over and held his own against Lamb late. That's big-time football. With Mitchell, Reed Blankenship, and Cooper DeJean holding steady, the Eagles might just survive the Adderey Jackson roller coaster. And I can't leave this section without shouting out Jordan Davis. With Jalen Carter ejected, Davis had to step up, and he did. 6 tackles, 2 pressures, a batted pass, and a TFL. He played the second most snaps of anyone on the defensive line, and he owned the trenches. This was the game where Jordan Davis showed he can be more than just a run stuffer. He can take over. Bottom line? Adderey Jackson has work to do. But the rookies are shining, Mitchell looks like a star, and Jordan Davis just showed us he's ready for a bigger role. This defense isn't perfect, but it's got the pieces to be special. Question for you, who impressed you more in their debut? Jahad Campbell or Drew Makuba? Drop your vote in the comments. I want to know where Eagles fans stand. The Eagles may have walked away with the win, but let's be real, this game was chaos. And a big part of that chaos came from the referees. Flags were flying late. Obvious holds were ignored on both sides, and somehow a literal punch thrown at Jake's Hunt just slipped right past them. And then? That absurd taunting call on Nolan Smith. A young defender makes a massive tackle for loss in a rivalry game under the lights, and the refs decide he's being too excited? Come on. This is Eagles Cowboys, not preseason walkthroughs. Fights, emotion, ejections. That's what this rivalry is. But the Zebras took center stage way too often, and it left both fan bases furious. Injury scares. But as wild as the officiating was, the injury updates might sting even more. Ben Van Sumeren went down, and the look on his face told the whole story. It doesn't look good. He could be sidelined for a while, and that's a huge blow to Philadelphia's fullback depth. Then came Landon Dickerson. Already dealing with nagging injuries all offseason, he got rolled up late in the game. He limped off and never returned in the fourth quarter. Brett Toth filled in. But let's be honest, this offensive line needs Dickerson healthy if they want to dominate the trenches. Losing him for any amount of time would be brutal. The big picture. Still, through all the madness, the ref drama, the injuries, the tension, Philadelphia walked out 1-0. And that's massive. Opening the season with a win, especially in prime time against the Cowboys, changes the whole tone of the year. The Birds now get a chance to rest, regroup, and prepare for a heavyweight showdown with the Chiefs at Arrowhead. It won't be easy, but with this defense showing flashes of dominance and the offense still finding its rhythm, the Eagles can roll into Kansas City with momentum. So, let me ask you, after everything we just saw, how confident are you in this team moving forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now.